All right, welcome to the Explainer. Project management might sound a bit dry, but its story is actually incredible. Today, we're going to trace that journey, from these massive, rigid physical blueprints, all the way to the super adaptive, people-focused, and now AI-powered world we live in.
Okay, so before we get going, let's get on the same page. The Project Management Institute defines it as, well, you can read the official version on the screen. But what does that really mean? At its core, it's just about getting stuff done to meet a goal. Sounds simple, right? Well, as we're about to see, the how we get that stuff done, that has changed in some pretty dramatic ways.
So here's the game plan for our little journey today. First, we'll look at the old way, the world of predictive plans. Then we'll jump to the new way, which is all about adaptive value. After that, we'll get into why it's all about people. And finally, we'll peek into the future, which is looking pretty augmented.
All right, first up, the old way. Let's travel back in time to a world that was all about order and predictability. I'm talking Gantt charts, master blueprints, the kind of planning that let us build massive skyscrapers and churn out products with mind-boggling precision.
And the beating heart of this old way was something called the triple constraint. You can think of it like an iron triangle. You had scope, what are we building? Time, how long will it take? And cost, how much will it cost? The whole philosophy was lock these three things down from the start, follow the plan to the letter, and boom, success. And listen, this approach worked. And it worked really, really well for a long time. Why? Because it's perfect for situations where you know exactly what the end looks like from the very beginning. The classic example is building a bridge, right? You have to know everything, every bolt, every pillar before you start. You can't get halfway across the river and suddenly go, you know what, let's add a second deck for a train. It just doesn't work that way.
But what happens when you can't see the end from the beginning? What happens when things are messy and the future is a big question mark? Well, that rigid model completely breaks down. This became a huge issue with the rise of software. In the world of code, things change constantly. The customer wants a new feature, a better technology comes out. Change isn't just a possibility, it's pretty much guaranteed. And trying to force a rigid plan on that? Yeah, that's like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall. It's messy and it just doesn't stick.
So clearly something had to give. If the old way was failing in this new complex world, what came next? This brings us to our second chapter, the new way, which is all about shifting from just following a plan to delivering actual continuous value.
And you can really see the massive difference right here. On one side, you've got predictive, or waterfall, where everything just flows down in a straight line. It's all about avoiding change and just following the plan. But on the other side, you have adaptive, or agile. Here, change is not the enemy, it's welcomed. The goal isn't to rigidly follow a plan someone made 6 months ago. The goal is to deliver value, adapt, learn, and build what the customer really needs, even if that need evolves over time.
This shift in thinking means we have to stop looking at projects like a simple to-do list. Instead, we have to see them for what they are: complex, living systems. As the PMBOK guide puts it, a project is a multifaceted entity that exists in dynamic circumstances. In other words, everything is connected.
Now, to really get this idea of systems thinking, there's this fantastic analogy from a classic business book called The Goal. I want you to picture a troop of scouts on a hike. Now, you might think the group's overall speed is set by the fastest kid, right? The one sprinting ahead? Well, you'd be wrong. The speed of the entire line is actually dictated by the slowest hiker. Let's call him Herbie.
See, if everyone just goes at their own speed, what happens? The fast kids get way, way ahead, and these huge gaps open up in the line. That stretched out line, that's your project. And those gaps, that's unfinished work piling up. It's wasted time, it's inefficiency. The hard truth is, the whole troop, your whole project, can only move as fast as its slowest part, as fast as Herbie. And this leads to a pretty profound realization, summed up perfectly by Eliyahu Goldratt, the author of The Goal. He says, productivity is only what brings you closer to your goal. Anything else is just busy work. So trying to make your fastest hikers go even faster? Totally useless if Herbie is still struggling at the back. True progress comes from improving the flow of the entire system. You find the bottleneck, you find your Herbie, and you help them. That's how the whole line moves faster.
This whole way of thinking about flow and bottlenecks is the foundation for all these adaptive methodologies you've probably heard of. You've got Scrum, which is all about short work cycles called sprints to get feedback quickly. There's Extreme Programming, which is laser-focused on high-quality code and constant customer collaboration. And then there's Lean, which is obsessed with one thing: eliminating waste.
All of them, in their own way, are trying to do the same thing: keep the whole line of hikers moving smoothly together.
Okay, so we've got these amazing new processes, these methodologies, but you can have the best system in the world and it will still fall apart if you forget about the most important, and let's be honest, the most complicated variable in any project. And that brings us to our third section. It's all about people.
There's this legendary book called Peopleware that basically looked at the human side of things, and it identified a bunch of common management mistakes that they called teamicide, which is an amazing term, right? It's all the stuff that actively kills a team's spirit and productivity. We're talking about bureaucracy that slows everything down, phony deadlines that just create stress, and fragmenting people's time so they can never actually focus. These aren't just minor annoyances, they are literal team killers.
And this quote from Ricardo Vargas just nails it. You can't think of your team or your stakeholders as pieces on a chessboard that you just move around. It doesn't work. People are way more complex than that. The job isn't to manipulate. The job is to engage. It's about building trust and real relationships.
So what does this all mean for a project manager today? Well, yeah, you need the technical skills. You have to know how to plan. But your real superpower, it's emotional intelligence. It's being able to keep your cool when everything is on fire. It's having genuine empathy and understanding what your team is going through. It's knowing how to build bridges and find common ground. That is the antidote to teamicide.
Okay, so we've gone from rigid plans to adaptive value, and we've put people at the center of it all. So where do we go from here? Well, let's look at the next big wave, the technology that's about to change everything once again. This is our final section. The future is augmented.
AI is already here, and it's becoming an incredible co-pilot for project managers. Think about it. It can chew through mountains of past project data to give us way better estimates on cost and time. It can scan for risks that a human might miss. It's basically an assistant that helps us make smarter, data-backed decisions. It's not taking over the job, it's augmenting it, making us better.
But of course, with great power comes, well, great challenges. Generative AI is no different. On the one hand, the benefits are huge. We can analyze data faster than ever, adjust plans in real time. But on the other hand, the perils are very real. What if the AI is trained on biased data? What about data privacy? And how do we protect ourselves from AI just making stuff up? These are big, tricky questions we have to navigate carefully.
Which brings us to one final, really important question to think about. As AI gets better and better at handling the technical stuff, the what of our jobs, like planning and analyzing, does that mean the uniquely human skills become even more valuable? Things like empathy, leadership, and connection. Maybe the future of project management isn't about becoming a better analyst, but about becoming a better human.